Hi everybody, Kevin Brown, Brown's Homestead Harvest House. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, I have a caribou hide here. It's been tanned, cleaned up and everything. I have to oil it, then I'll roll it up and let it sit overnight, kind of absorb the oil, kind of rotate it throughout the day, hang it tomorrow, let it dry, then we'll tumble it, get it all nice and softened up, and give it back to our client. But these caribou, I have two more to do. These are from Alaska, but man, these guys, the hides on these things are so beautiful. They're so thick. They have to be, obviously, being up in the climate in Alaska, Canada, Canada, Arctic Circle area. But man, they're so beautiful, and they're so nice when they're finished. I will show you what they start as on the next clip because I forgot to film on this one. But anyways, I'm going to be oiling this and cleaning it up and finishing it off. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll complete this project together. Thanks. I just wanted to bring this up. Kind of an interesting theory, and I believe that's what this is. I may need a comment or someone on this, but if you can see all these little holes, it looks like he got shot with a shotgun, but he didn't. What I believe it is the caribou up in the tundra get attacked by, you know, the black flies and all those insects. Well, they burrow into their hair, and then they get into their hide and they start sucking the blood for food, whatever. And this guy got it really bad. It looks almost like chicken pox in his hide. So he was pretty tore up. This is the worst one that I've ever seen with this much done to it. But I believe that's my theory is they were just like ticks and they got on him and they were just sucking blood and they left scar tissue. So I have another one and he barely has any on him. So this guy, if that's my theory is correct, this guy was literally getting eaten alive. As in comparison, here's the one that I showed you with all the like pock holes in it. See, it's where the whole hide is covered in it. That's my theory about the insects burrowing in like a tick. Black flies, that's up. Here's the other one that I'm doing. And see, it doesn't have any. Maybe one or two, but this guy right here that I'm working on, doesn't have any. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna oil this caribou hide now with some warmed up oil. It's specific for leather oil and hides. I heat it up to about 130 degrees, get it warm so it penetrates into the hide a little bit better, thins it out just a little bit. Oil this and then let it rest here flat for probably an hour or two and just let it really soak in, and then maybe I'll fold it and roll it, but we'll see. But I'm gonna just get this oiled for you and show you. It doesn't take much. The oil's already preheated over here. And try to evenly distribute it. I need to readjust my camera up just a little bit. Stay. There we go. So just oil the hide. Don't go too heavy, you know. I don't go too heavy, and just make sure you get it everywhere. Changes obviously the color of the leather from that nice white to the oil color golden tan kind of. This hide is really nice leather, and the hair on these things is so thick. They're just beautiful. They have to be, obviously, due to the climate and the environment that they live in, but it's a very beautiful animal. All of God's creations are beautiful for the most part. Some people I know ain't so beautiful, but we'll get this taken care of. Let's see. You don't want to get it puddled up or anywhere. Kind of massage it in. These little holes here, I did a couple of them. Some of them are for when they're skinning the animal up wherever they got it. You know, these things are pretty big and heavy, so You know, things are going to happen. We try not to put any holes in them, obviously, but it happens. So we'll sew them up or just leave them sometimes if the people aren't too critical. Some are critical. You know, you get the bullet hole or the archery or something, entry wound and exit wound. On these thicker hided animals, elk, moose, and even sometimes deer, it depends on the caliber of bullet and the grain and stuff. Sometimes it doesn't pass through the animal on the harvest, the kill shot, and I'll retrieve the bullet sometimes. In fact, here's one right here. They'll mushroom out, you know, and they'll be stuck in the hide because it just couldn't get through it because they're so thick or hits a bone or something. Same way with archery. The arrow, the broadheads or something, sometimes deflect off something and stick. So it's also critical that when somebody brings me an animal that they specify, hey, this is an archery kill and I did not retrieve the broadhead from this animal, it possibly could still be in the animal, the meat, the hide or somewhere. So I'll kind of have to be a little more careful until we eliminate the threat of being sliced, you know, reaching in and a broadhead or something hits you. That does not feel good. Trust me, I've had it and it does not feel good. But anyways, we can recover the bullets sometimes. That's a slug, I don't know. I used to know my calibers and everything, being in the military, but I'm gonna let this sit here for probably an hour or so, probably 2, let this soak in, then I'll just kind of lightly fold it up and let it rest overnight. We'll unfold it, hang it, let it dry a couple days, and then I'll tumble it, soften it out, show you the product. I'll show you the hair side. I kind of gave you a glimpse on that already, but the hair side will blow it out, clean it, and man, these caribou are really nice. This leather just turns out really good. Sometimes when they're hunting the caribou, guide or the people don't have salt, which once you harvest an animal and you skin it, lay it out, flesh it off, get it cleaned up the best you can, and apply salt to it. That pulls the moisture out, seals follicles, stuff like that. But sometimes they don't have that, so they air dry it like the good old days. So they'll just spread it out and hang it somewhere and just let the air pull the moisture out of it. And it comes in more like a parchment paper feel instead of a salted feel. But these turn out really nice. Regardless, either way, they're cured. Stay tuned. We'll show you the process on this caribou along the way. And I appreciate you watching. Hey everybody, here's the caribou. He's at a dry point now. He's dried out pretty much. There's a little spot here and there that's still a little damp, but he's gonna go in the tumbler. Let me introduce you to Bob. His name is Bob. He's an 8-foot diameter. Well, he's 8 foot from top to bottom. Tumbler. There's the sawdust side, then there's the cleaning side where it has holes in it where stuff can fall out and under the ground. We'll clean it up in a bit, but this will be the sawdust side. So we'll put the hide inside the tumbler on this side. Get some nice clean sawdust. Pull this one off first. And then we'll just turn them on. And it's a slow roll tumbler. I got a couple little holes in here I still have to patch. You'll see one. Let me point one out here. But when a big hoof, like a buffalo hoof or something comes around and smacks this, it'll put a hole in it. But anyways, the caribou tumble in here. I'll just kind of monitor it for the next 15, 30, 45 minutes on the initial tumble, just to start breaking it down, softening up the leather, loosening it all up. Then I'll hang it back up over here to dry for another 24 hours. I'll trim all around the edges, put it back in there for its final tumbling and cleaning. Then the caribou will be ready and sent off to the client. Bob's rolling, working on that caribou. And yeah, show you when it's done. Okay, wait, everybody, a little different angle. I got you on the other side. I'm gonna open this up and see how Mr. Caribou is doing. We'll fish him out of there with our handy dandy fishing rod. Like I said, this is just the initial tumble. Ugh. These guys are so nice, thick in the hair. I'll let him dry because he's still a little damp and he'll dry out, but see how it's starting to soften? It just softens up. It'll turn nice. See, these are damp spots. So if you break them, stretch them, they'll start to disappear. You're just breaking the leather a little bit, stretching it out. So I'm gonna hang this back up to let it continue drying for the next 24 hours. And then I'll trim the edges, which I'll show you. Trim the edges, and we'll throw it back in for its final tumble. But she's coming around really nice. God, these are so nice. They're so thick. I wish you guys could see and feel this. I'm gonna hang this, let it dry, and we will tumble it again a la mañana. Keep going with it and show you the final product. Okay, so when I say I'm gonna hang it, I hang it by its back hocks like that. Lets the air get around it to dry. Tomorrow I'll fish it off and tumble it again, trim it up, clean it. Oh, by the way, Butch 2.0 says hi. Go Cougs! All right, everybody, we're gonna trim up these hard edges. There's not a lot. I won't do a lot of trimming on it because there's just certain spots you trim. Some I don't like trimming, like the front leg elbow. It's hard. That's its natural hide feel and stuff. Just a little hard on that elbow pad that's right here. But some of this other stuff on the outside, just take a really sharp scalpel and we just trim off a quarter to an eighth of an inch just to pull off this nasty stuff that hardens up, or little skin tags that are along the way type of thing. Just like little areas that were curled over. We'll trim it off just so the whole edge of the hide is gonna be a softer leather on the edge. So sometimes on some of the animals you can trim the whole belly edge, or like right down here off its off its rump. I'll trim this whole little edge off a little bit because it's always a little tougher, but I don't like taking too much off unless you have to, because you know that's the hide. But it does clean up the edge. So let me just get this done here. Caribou have small tails like elk. They're just those little stubby things. They don't want to take that off because it's its tail, part of the hide. Now some people, when I get them, they'll already be, the tails will be taken off, or they cut them off, or accidentally or purposefully when they were skinning the animal. But you gotta skin out the tail too, because there's a little bone that goes in these little tails, and then a bunch of it's like liver meat that's around it. It's kind of a darker meat, especially on elk, that you gotta kind of get shaved off and trimmed out. So you have to split the tail. Some people will tube the tail, which is okay, but I think it looks better if you're gonna open it up anyways, to just split the tail open and make it a whole open face is what I call it, hide. You only have to trim the hides on flat hides or flat skins, whatever you call them, usually for the dry tans. On wet tans you don't really trim the stuff off because we need it all to mount for a shoulder mount. But on these flat hides that are just going to lay over the end of the bed, a couch, the floor, whatever you choose, is the ones you kind of trim up just to make it a little more finished product. Usually a really sharp scalpel. Oh, this one popped off. We'll get through the hide. It's just kind of funny I said that. We'll get through these hides. If not, I have a skinning knife that will, which this just broke the blade. But I was about done with it anyway. So I use the number 22. I believe this is the 22. The bigger blade. Heavier hided animals, buffaloes, some elk, moose. Fleshing knife. It gets around here real easy. We don't get it sharp and trim them up. So, okay, this is finished up on the trim. I'm gonna go throw it in Bob the tumbler, tumble it for about 15 minutes. That completes our caribou project. I do have sometimes people, you know, with these leftover little trim pieces, the hairs, it all depends. Fly tires for fly fishing. We'll sometimes use all these different color hairs off different animals for their fly tying. So yeah, just a little interesting fact. We're gonna put Bob in on the cleaner side. I'm sorry, the caribou in on the clean side of the tumbler, the holes. Let's stuff come out, fall onto the floor. If you're wondering why I call this Bob, my dad's name is Bob Robert. When we were building this, inside we have screws and bolts and everything to hold this stuff together where they stick out about 1/2 inch. So you don't want those obviously sticking out when you're tumbling hides for ripping, tearing the hair off and stuff like that. So my dad went in there and he cut off and ground off all the bolts, and there must have been, and screw heads and all that stuff, 300-400 of them. So he went in there, did that for me while we were building it, and in tribute to him, I called this Bob. So I'm gonna let this thing tumble for 10-15 minutes, polish off that hide, bring it out, show you the final product, and that'll conclude this caribou project. Okay, the caribou just came out of the tumbler for about 20-30 minutes, and it softened up nicely. Leather's really nice on it. Nice throw rug. The hair, nice and clean. Great little item for your home if you like this type of stuff. A couple notes on this. You got to watch it when you're tumbling hides. Certain hides, or hair on the hides, is a little more hollow, brittle, longer, stuff like that. So you got to watch how long you tumble it. That just comes with experience and keeping an eye on it. Because if you over tumble, you'll start breaking hair. And then the manes go away, or their outside hair gets broken and it doesn't look as good as it should, and that's my fault. For the most part, that doesn't happen too much anymore. So the final product on the caribou is right here. Looks pretty beautiful to me. It has a really nice color to it. You know, along the edges is the darker colors. And the belly tends to get a little lighter, and then down the back, the spine darkens up, and the tail's right here. There's a little tail, and then the white on it, and then the mane's really nice on them. Right there, they're nice long manes, and so yeah, caribou. They're a chore to get. Never hunted them myself personally. I know people who have. They say it's a really excellent, good time. Thanks for tuning in on this caribou project. And we'll see you on the next one. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that like button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.